Oh, friends, welcome to the blossoming pear tree. And welcome to Gord's Poetry Show number 82. And the usual dilemma over what to call it. I think we've used all the spring-summer titles already. So let's call it Pear Tree Blossoms. And I'd like to... Oh, it's a short one, 16 minutes. Ooh, these computers do tell you what to do, don't they? New poet to me, resident of Toronto, born in Tehran, Bardia, Sinaee. His book, Intruder, just out. Quite impressed with this. Very good for a first book, I must say. Deposition. How harrowing the prospect. There may be no clandestine agency after all. Only our clamoring until we've built something we'd sooner take up arms for than name. By now there ought to be some sort of saying for it, to march all day through toppled statuary, surprised to find oneself inclined toward such hopefully destructive sentiments as might find expression in a goose-step chant. I love my people, even you who harbor a private vision of the future, one that alarms even you, that scales your fortitude, then pleads for understanding. Nothing is forbidden. Only the truth will stand on the other side, and I am truth itself. I am the president's interminable necktie, his unabridged Dickens, the words you have been reading and reading into. When poets say the air could not reveal itself without you, lark, remember I am both the air and the lark. Think of me more faithfully and often than you breathe. I will allow you to stare at the sun. I will dismantle the sun into sleep, color, and food. Your sickness, the violence of your existence, is parenthetical to my delight. I rewrite it as I please. Come forth into unguarded pastures, but not because you are free. The marriage of reason and squalor. Some people, when they read about physics, begin to doubt the very possibility of color and light, to ask if what they see is really there. Dark as a drain, flat as a shadow, the thick concentric bands of black enamel paint suck all the light from the room. The painting doesn't defy interpretation so much as consume it like a black hole, asserting its own opacity. What you see is all there is. Oil, glycerin, pigment, linen stretched over wood, the letter M. If the motion of light were slowed, we might see the artist applying his hair to the canvas, advancing a claim to freedom from the hegemony of figurative language, so to speak. No God, but a curious mind perhaps with a magnifying glass. No meaning but the tales we tell to dispel the dark. Thank you, Bardia Sinaee. We will be returning to this book forthwith. Susan Glickman, Toronto artist, teacher and editor and poet. I have finally got a copy of her new and selected poems, Running in Prospect Cemetery. Something I should have purchased years ago and just didn't get around to. It's a fine book and many good poems. I'll read that one first. Published when? 2004. Oh, just last week, really. After Pasternak. A man walking through fields at turn of season forgets his life. What he says about it when his feet are squared under a table and everyone's talking too fast. Or how he lines up those memories by his bed each night, like shoes he will step into in the morning. Hills under the purple blur of autumn are something he has never seen before. White horse running for joy, hooves ploughing the ice-curdled earth. It asks no questions. The sky stung by crows into sudden clamour beyond the far fringe of branches. Black feathers sloughed from an ascending moon. And the way small pools in the mud, so many dark eyes, wink up at him as he walks past, crossing over from then to now as though it were the easiest thing in the world. What snow is when you're in Mexico? A mouthful of cloud, a glass orchestra, the lungs struck like bells, patience of trees, their naked decorum, especially the white birch, and all things black or white, but snow itself violet in shadow, a split prism in sunlight, and the sun unobstructed. Wings of the Scotch pine shaken, a drift of lesser stars, hillsides studded with leafless maples, contour of muscle under the stippled pelt, and the resistant current midstream pushing its slow cargo to where even the waterfall freezes, and the hungry fish below. Wind singing its lonely epic, a language we forgot we knew, and the creak underfoot as the new path packs down, the delight of being the first. A single crow on a fence post, praise without flowers. I think I've lost the poem I was going to read. Ah yes, Chocolate, a love poem. Because he says it's its favourite thing after me and the way he loves it, I'd be flattered to come second. Because of the steadfast devotion with which he regards it, because of the purity of his greed, his happiness before, during, and after. Because it is dark and mysterious and native to this hemisphere. Because the Aztecs cooked with it and the Mexicans still make of it a sauce, which gives it zest to the mild taste of poultry and provides rich color on the plate. Because he is so easily made happy. Because strawberries dipped in it are both decorative and delicious. Because the only door prize I ever won was a chocolate rabbit at the Montreal Children's Theatre one Easter when I was 12. Because everyone eats the ears first. Because it is best when partly bitter. Because this is the natural metaphor. Because 17th century Jamaican sailors named the Northwest wind after it. Because of the way he always thinks of buying some suddenly when we are driving home, as if it is a novelty he has only just discovered. Because if you serve it for dessert, it doesn't matter what happened to the main course. Because the word cookie sounds silly and nobody notices. Because we all think everyone else is a grown-up. Because I particularly relish its aroma. Because it is the best possible beverage after skiing. But because it's queerly a force to be reckoned with. because of his unwavering ardor and the purity of his greed. The next poem, America. That will be a little interesting contrast to the next book, Stephen Roxborough's I Feel Your Donut Pain, which is very American. America. Whatever else it is, it's big. It travels under its own steam, barreling down the rails to that vanishing point where all the tracks converge. Grasses littered with cornflowers, sweet William daisies surge out of its path, murmuring like the sea or the sighs of an audience before the curtain rises on a deft third act where everything will be resolved. Meanwhile, Act 2. A family comes in to breakfast. Immigrant parents and half-grown sons, the last traces of dreams still blurring their eyes. They greet each other warily, groping across the table with a few words, fossils from the old country. These are boys who buckle their belts tightly. They always make 2 sandwiches for lunch, salami and cheese pasted together with mayonnaise or mustard, and a damp frill of lettuce. They eat deliberately, both hands clamped on the bread, looking at nothing, or at girls who are next to nothing. Advertisements for romance in black leather, to pose pillion on motorcycles. The boys imagine riding across America. Stephen Roxborough, my American friend. His new book, I Feel Your Donut Pain. Stephen is also a marvelous photographer. You must look at his work on Facebook. And this passionate polemic, political in the extreme, beating the drum to summon the spirit of Abby Hoffman for the 21st century, while fittingly following on the mournful howl of Ginsberg, The Fall of America. Roxborough expresses the outrage and enrage so many as have been feeling in this time of Trump. Well, it's the time of someone else now, but Trump hasn't disappeared completely, has he? Or what he stood for. I do not pledge allegiance, I do not pledge allegiance to any flag for which it stands, because to grant a symbol too much power makes me feel uncomfortable and stupid, as if regurgitating a few grandiose words gives them my permission to wage war on people and planet. Because I will not stand for that or the national anthem, another glorification of weapons and war, America's most lucrative export. I will not give this government blind faith for all their anti-constitutional human rights reducing acts and policies, their obvious racial and corporate bias, their endless gravy train for gluttonous banks, their apathy toward the poor and homeless, their lack of alarm for universal health care and higher education, their denial and disinterest in ecology, and their unflagging support of the uber-wealthy. I outright refuse to swallow any more of their mindless, repetitious brainwashing, twisted hero distortion for liberty and justice for all. Rah, rah, blah, blah. Amen. Given enough time, she said, you could get used to anything. You mean, he said, like the classic frog in the ever-increasing heating pot? Like prison or clutter or homelessness or bad government, she said? Like the Patriot Act or the NSA or cameras in refrigerators spying, he said? Like cameras in the street and bugs in your computers, she said. Like bad air and bad weather and no universal health care, he said. Like climate change and polluted food and mediocre music, she said. Like traffic jams and inflated prices and daylight savings and unaffordable housing, he said. Like failing education and endless war, lead in your drinking water and a government doesn't care, she said. And a government that doesn't care. The most revolutionary action is not war or violence or debate or declaration, but calm. The system knows how to defeat violence, but it cannot conquer calm. Calm is all the power. No lashing, no bashing, no trashing. Calm solves every problem. No time, no karma, no samsara, no dogma. You can begin to start winning at the beginning with calm. No impulse, no complication, no instigation. Calm puts you in control. No delusion, no confusion, no worry, no duality, no burning concern for income or outcome. No tomorrow, no sorrow, no problem. Simply calm, simply cool, collected, deep breath. Calm. Great stuff there, Stephen. I feel your donut pain. I certainly do. And if we only had a little more than 16 minutes and 31 seconds, I'd read some more, but the computer dictates. I was going to read some Jim Smith, Happy Birthday Nikon Car Para. That'll have to wait. And Blue Sky, Red Brick, and the reader of the poetry. That's me. Gord's Poetry Show. Bye-bye.